Hello and welcome to Newsworthy Stories with Jacqueline Jimenez. So many times we get to a point in our career where we want to do something more with our knowledge, what we've learned, or if we've had a traumatic experience, we want to share it. And sometimes we want to share it, in a book. So if you're an author or you want to be an author, I have the great person for you to speak with. Her name is Tresa Chambers, and she is joining us to tell us more about how do you start a book or how do you start to write a book? Or if you're an author already, what are some of the misconceptions, that those of us with books, including myself, what do we do or what shouldn't we do?
Hi, Jackie. Thank you and great to be here. I am really excited to share a lot of perspective that I have based on my experience, both in the publishing industry. I've worked for some of the major media outlets as a journalist and on the marketing side of the business. And I also have a master's degree in publishing. I have
Oh, cool.
touched all aspects of the publishing industry. So I'm hoping to really bring that insight to your audience today. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad you can make it because we've talked about this, kind of thing before, but really tell us what are some of the misconceptions that authors have about, how to promote their books, how to get their books out there.
Absolutely. Well, it's really important to really kind of point this out and help authors understand because one of the biggest mistakes that authors make is waiting until their book is published to start marketing and then expect their books to sell at a bestseller level. So I really want to educate authors and help them understand that the publishing of the book is really kind of the middle of your marketing process. You really are behind if you're just starting to promote your book once your book is published.
Now, if you already have a book out there, how do you make it new again then?
So, if you already have a book out there, depending on how long it's been out and who your target market is, there are a couple of things that you can do. One, you can actually start to plan events where you get people engaged with the audience so that you are reminding people that the book exists, you're reminding them where to get it. You can also remind them that this is something that they can bring a community together with, have these conversations, go beyond the actual reading of the text, but also talk about the topics, the issues that you might raise within the book. Another thing that you can do is if you've had a book out for a year, if there's a milestone, you can create an updated version of your book. You can plan for that. And that allows you to be able to do that advanced marketing that you didn't do the first time around that can get you some great results. It also creates an opportunity for you to submit your book for reviews in advance so that you start to build momentum and get people engaged about whatever topic it is that you're focused on.
Now, when I wrote my handbook, How to Get Television News Coverage, It's Easier Than You Might Think, it actually came out at the end of 2019, right? And so I was never, of course, we ran into COVID in 2020. And one of the things I still have not really gone back to do are like book signings or going to the libraries, or how important is that?
So it really is important to understand that your book is out there and there's so many places for distribution, but you are not solely alone in doing that distribution. So you look at your libraries, you look at your bookstores, you look at online groups as your community of promoters and distributors, but you have to build relationships with them. And so it's really important for you to start laying the groundwork for that. If you are, especially if you are an author who's doing all of this on your own, then you have to recognize that it's going to take time. You're actually embarking on a journey to actually take on a job.
I was gonna
That
say,
is,
isn't it like a full-time job
well, it
just to
really
promote the
is.
book?
It is. So it's, authors don't often consider themselves to be entrepreneurs or business owners, but that's exactly what you are. If you are you're creating a product that you're seeking to sell. And so if that is your intent, if you actually want people to buy it, if you want to generate income from it, revenue, create other opportunities, then you really have to think about putting together a marketing plan that you can execute on your own or get help. And what happens so often with authors, as well as with other budding entrepreneurs, is that you don't have a whole lot of money. And so
Mhm.
you have to think about, well, how am I going to get this book out here and not and I can't pay someone to do it. But the fact of the matter is that you can start with zero or very little money and start to build that momentum, but it really requires planning. So if you think about, just like you planned your book out, you have to plan your marketing of your book. So you have time that you dedicate every day to writing your book, to hitting some writing goals. In that same way, you have to plan out every day goals that you're going to hit for marketing your book. And that means reaching out to libraries, reaching out to bookstores, submitting for competitions, reaching out to organizations who would read your book. And my focus is really offering strategies that are not about selling your book one at a time. Like, you can imagine the person, or anyone, kind of like taking a bunch of books in the trunk of their car and selling them on the street corner, or going to a street festival even, or a book festival, and selling one-on-one. My approach and recommendation is always to try to sell as many of your books as possible to one customer, which means that you are selling to organizations, you're selling to businesses, you're selling even to book groups, but they're purchasing multiples at one time, as opposed to just selling one at a time. You're not going to get rich anyway just through book sales. So let's get real about that. Unless you're already a celebrity, or you're an influencer, even people with multi-million following, it takes time to build up the sales to really get the return on your investment. And at the end of the day, with the book, you really just want to cover your costs and then create other opportunities for yourself to generate revenue based on what you have as content in the book and the brand association that you're building as an author at the same time.
So, how should they partner, or what do they partner with? I mean, like, I understand what you're saying, which is great, because for me, I know that my book would be great in universities. I mean, hands down, marketing, marketing, journalism, communication, sales, all of that, right?
Yes.
They should be in all of those. Oh, I'm like, where does that noise come? I have something in my ear because I'm leaning on the volume on my back. That is so funny. I was like, where's that coming from? But that's a really great concept, to know that, yes, be thinking of places where they will buy the book in multiples. And I don't think people think like that. I think they think more of the book sales, the one-on-ones. And so, is that something, so you go out and open those doors for people? You have connections in those areas?
So yes, so I have connections, but really have a strategic approach to identifying the specific markets that you want to get into based on what your book topic is, based on what your ultimate goals are, and then the channels to get to those markets. So if you are a romance writer, then there's absolutely no reason why you can't promote your book to a group of booksellers who sell romance. And there's a strategy for that, as opposed to knocking on individual doors, right? Can you imagine like doing door to door sales for your book? It's going
No,
to be
I cannot. Well, let's talk about some of the authors that you are promoting right now and some of the places like what is this place that you're marketing this book?
Absolutely. So this is a really great example. So I'd love to talk about this example and then a more general example because Jessica Bantam is a new author. This is her first book that she's published, and she's a diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioner and an interior designer by trade. So that's a very niche kind of market. And her book, Design for Identity: How to Design Authentically for a Diverse World, speaks to a very specific group of buyers. So, in thinking about how she's going to approach reaching that audience, you look at an outlet like multicultural marketing, um, because this is an opportunity for this particular platform reaches DE&I experts and executives who are interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so, as she is looking to get sales, imagine an organization who's focused on diversity and identity. That would be a company that could likely and would likely purchase a book for every employee,
Or
right?
at least the leadership, right?
Or the leadership, or it is, what's really exciting is that the result of what Jessica has done in just 3 months, she's gone from being, like I said, a new author and doing her and being a practitioner in her work to actually having an opportunity to speak on multiple podcasts. She's had amazing sales for a book that actually she did not start marketing very far in advance. So that's one factor to really keep in mind, but still she's got this momentum. She's going to be speaking in front of 75,000 of her peers in just a couple of months, and that
Wow.
was based on
Congratulations
her
to that
book.
on
Yes.
any level.
Exactly. It's
That
a
is a
huge
milestone.
accomplishment, but that's what working with someone who's strategic and who's planning with her and really supporting her goals, that makes the difference. And actually, I shout out to Jessica because she did plan a budget so that she could actually invest in the marketing promotion of her book, because it really does make a difference. And her book is self-published. So that's something else I wanted to point out, Jackie, as
Mm,
well,
okay.
is that there are so many authors who are self-published now. And in a decade ago, it was pretty much taboo to think
Right.
that your book could be a great book if it's self-published. But now the self-publishing industry has evolved so much, and the quality of the work is there, and the collaboration with the author and the publisher is really strong. And that's what Jessica was able to take advantage of. But she made an investment in herself. She made a plan, she made an investment, and she's seeing the benefits already. In fact, in addition to getting, she was on featured in that newsletter, but we also were able to submit her book early for a prize. So her book was a quarter finalist in the Publishers Weekly Book Life Prize. Why is that important? Publishers Weekly is the reference for publishers, for buyers like libraries, like
Mm.
bookstores. That's a resource for them to go to find what kinds of books, which books they want to sell in their stores. And they look at this publication, they look at these prizes, and they make selections about books they're going to order in bulk by way of Publishers Weekly. So getting that recognition, getting that prize early, getting that visibility early is a really, really important thing to do.
And
Jessica.
you touched on something that's really important to me is that okay, I know nothing about any of those organizations, when it comes to where to look. And so just working with Tresa would be beneficial alone, is just having somebody who has the knowledge instead of you trying to Google it yourself as to where do I take this book. Tresa would have that information. And to me alone, that would be worth the investment because it's time consuming to try and figure out where, these organizations are, which ones are best suited for you. And yeah, I could certainly see the benefit in that as well. And who is the writer of this book, and what can you
So
tell
this
us
is
about her?
Bettina Bird Giles is someone who, this is a great example of someone who wrote a book, and she didn't publish it on Amazon until she and I had a conversation. And I was asking her what her goals were with her book, because it's really important to understand that. And so for her, she also wanted to be a thought leader in the space that she's in. But she'd written this book. We talked about what the content of the book should be actually before she put it together, because a lot of people are not confident about being able to even complete a book. And what I say to that is, you've probably already written several books. If you go back and you look at all of the things that you have, all the places you've spoken, all of the notes you've written, speeches, presentations, pitches, all of those things. And this is for nonfiction authors, obviously. But and experience professionals, right? So these are subject matter experts. So Bettina was that, and she has many accolades, and she's collected a lot of content. And so we talked about how she can organize this in a way that's relevant for her audience. She'd done a lot of the work already. And like I said, she had done a version of the book before she and I talked. And then she had published the book, but she hadn't put it out on Amazon. And listen, the reality is, whatever you think about Amazon,
Mhm.
90% of books are sold on Amazon. Okay. So if you're going to sell books, you got to be on Amazon. So set your books up for that. And so with Bettina, she also wanted to get more visibility as a speaker, and to get more opportunities to consult. And what's been really great is that she took a lot of initiative herself. She didn't invest a huge amount of money, but she invested enough to be able to get that strategic guidance. But also, what's great with Bettina is that she wanted to get more visibility as that subject matter expert in the media. And so we've been able to get media placements for her in key platforms like Indeed. She's a subject matter expert who's been interviewed on Indeed about career paths for professionals. So those are the kinds of things that can happen if you are thinking strategically and working with a strategic partner to actually get those opportunities and have follow through and outcomes that you really want. That's the beauty of having that strategic marketing partner, and really thinking about your book and being an author as the start of a business venture.
Well, let me ask you this, Tresa. What is your ideal person to work with, or what point are they should they really be before they come to you, or what is the ideal person that you're looking for?
So, my ideal client as an author is someone who is planning 6 months ahead. They've already contracted to get the book done, they're already in revisions. And I'm happy to talk more about book revisions and book editing as well if you'd like. But getting connected with someone like me 4 to 6 months before your actual publication date can be transformative in the outcomes that you get. So that's really the most important thing. And the other factor is having clear goals about what the outcomes are that you want. And I encourage you to have big goals. So that's really something to factor in, is that yes, you want to have those big dreams about having a best-selling book, but you've got to be willing to do the work and come ready to have that conversation about what that requires of you, both from a time commitment and a financial commitment perspective.
Yeah, I just it's so much more, you take all this time, because it does take time to write a
Yes.
book, to sit down, put it down on paper. And for me, and if you're in a stuck position, what I tell people is don't worry about what the book is, being perfect when you're writing the book. Just put those thoughts down as
Yeah,
naturally as possible and then go back and, let somebody else do the revisions on the copy editing because it's your story that needs to come out or it's the knowledge, that you need to share and you need to be able to share it in the way that people can actually understand it, especially if it's a technical book. Even though it's technical, it still needs to read and flow nicely like a story. And so the more stories or examples, that was the one thing when I was in college. My grades, went from a lower grade to an A plus. You use a lot of adjectives, be very descriptive. That's how, my grades change. And I was like, wow. So since then, it was always be as descriptive as you can possibly be. Help us see that story or see that, visualize what you're doing in words. And so we need to be able to see what you're seeing in your head on paper. And
that's
so
exactly right.
right? And so, for me, telling when I'm telling a story, that's what I'm also looking for in pictures. I use video to tell stories, and I shared with you. I said, I've only had maybe one or two people on who were actually authors, but one of them, her name is Aluta Sutra, and she was on and is just gone crazy with the story that we did. And then, on the YouTube channel, but she is one who is doing um the book signings. Every time I get on LinkedIn, I see book signing, book signing, book signing. I'm
Right.
so excited. In fact, I think she actually, well, she has them very often. And
Yeah.
so it's just that is, and it actually inspires me because like I told you, I still haven't really gone out myself. So, if there was one thing that you suggest that whether you're an author or whether you want to be an author, what do you suggest the most that when people see this, what is your greatest takeaway that you want people to know about you and about what you're doing?
Well, at the end of the day, if you have a message that you want to get to the world, you are in a moment where you have the greatest opportunity to get visibility. But you really need to have a clear idea of who your target market is. And my gift is in being able to help identify your target market because everybody, ideally, yes, we all want everybody to love our baby, which is our book, but it's not for everybody. And so having clarity around who your book is for as you begin to market your book and put together a plan to get those sales is going to be critical in having the successful outcomes that you want. And so, really drilling down on that can be transformational in terms of the outcomes, getting the audience, getting the opportunities that you want.
Thank you so much, Tracy. There's such great information. I know you can share so much more with me this morning, and I know people, that I can name at least 10 in my head that I just know are going to eat this, information up. So I thank you for sharing it. Thank you for taking the time. Get a hold of Tresa, 10thmuseenterprises.com. Her email is there. You know, email her, reach out to her, ask the questions, find out, how to connect. And let's read about what you know. Let's hear your
Yeah,
story,
yeah.
and get it out there, and get it out there for the reason you want to put it out there, instead of getting frustrated that you put all this time into a book. Uh, make it fun. I think Tracy would be fun to work with.
I will be a blast. I am a blast all
You
the time.
are a blast. I mean,
And
for
one
the
of the
most.
things, yes, and one of the things I'll just close out with, Jackie, is that I am very focused on making sure that we work based on your goals, your priorities and the specific brand that you're putting forward. So some authors are very introverted, some are not. And so I factor that in terms of the overall strategy. So that's really important as well for authors to know, especially.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Before we go, or as we go, I want you to see the story that I did on Aluta Sutra, just so you could see how she turned a very simple uh, moment or time at the library and turned it into a story. And that's something you can do. Or when you have your next book signing, you can turn it into a story. And that's a way for people to engage and get to know you. Because, if they know you better, they want to buy whatever you have to sell more than anything else. They just want to, if they know you, love you, or get to, accept who you are, they're going to want to buy more books. And that's just simple knowledge. Uh, you support people you like, and we wanna help you do that. Thank you so much, Tresa. You're
Thank
you're amazing.
you.
So glad we
You
connected
are
again.
too.
It's just so good to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Uh, and uh, and I look forward to hearing your success stories.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Iluta Sutra. I'm the author of the book called Saving Gigi. I met this incredible dog, Gigi. I fell in love so strongly, and we have unbelievable, strong connection. And it was not even my own dog.
A new book hitting the shelves, triggering a range of emotions from around the world.
I can't tell you the last time, if ever, I read a book that touched every emotion within my being.
We recently added this book by Iluta Sutra, Saving Gigi, to the library system. We have a copy here at the Sunny Isles Beach Library, as well as a copy at the main library. And of course, anyone in any other of our 49 libraries can request it and have it sent to their branch. But we're very lucky that we have our local author donating this book to us.
Saving Gigi getting the thumbs up from Mariel Hemingway, who wrote a foreword in the book, but that's not the only recognition the book is getting.
I submitted my book for the review, and then I received an email. And when I opened up, I was extremely surprised. Can you believe it? I'm an award-winning author. I'm originally from Latvia, and when I was growing up, I could never imagine I could write a story and turn into the book. Because living in the United States, you feel like you have a bigger opportunities and better opportunities rather than being in a small country and write a book. I really feel that this story has to reach as many people as possible, and I am guarantee you that it's going to touch so many hearts and souls, and it's going to change so many lives.
This is one of the few books that I can truly call great. I'm a literary connoisseur, and I've read literally hundreds of books, and none have touched my life the way that this touched mine. At the time that I read this, I was working through a lot of grief in my life. Thank you so much, Iluta Sutra, for writing this amazing story and for having the courage to share it with the world.
Easy to read, and it really touches you. This book would be amazing not only to dog owners, pet owners, but actually for everybody who has loved somebody.
Not only resonating with adults, but children too.
My favorite part of the book was when Iluta met Gigi. Gigi was really playful and fun. But the part that made me cry is one day Iluta had to let go of Gigi.
Aluta hoping children everywhere get a chance to read Saving Gigi, and she's asking corporations and businesses to help out.
I would love to encourage corporations and businesses to buy this book, Saving Gigi, in bulk for the schools or their own customers, and as a gift, and to help me to spread this message of love, kindness, and forgiveness.
You can get a copy of Saving Gigi by Aluta Sutra at sutrawritings.com, on Amazon, and more. Be sure to invite Iluta to your school or your next book club meeting. in person or online.